Also the box shed that I've built, I've pulled it apart and I'm going to now have a flat roof. As you can see on the top, I've put a piece of balsa wood and the same on the other side. And that way I will now have a flat roof. Now one of my comments was not many sheds would have a like a box roof like those that I've made. So I decided to change it. So I'll glue it all together and I'll show you what it looks like when it's glued. So that's what she looks like now with the flat roof. Okay, for my roadbed now, I've found another product called a polypropylene sheets. Now it's very similar to styrene, but it's very soft, and where the styrene's a bit harder. But this thickness is a 0.38 of a millimetre. So it's probably just nice for my sliders to slide on top of it. So at this stage, that's what I'm going to use. And I'll show you what else I've done. And as you can see, I've got my plyboard that's very shiny. Now the reason it's shiny is I'm going to use two-sided tape, and to make the two-sided tape stick to the timber I used a wood varnish, which is a gloss, so the two-sided tape will actually stick to the timber. Now if I didn't do that, all the dust from the timber will eventually just make it sort of come loose. So the reason I've made it gloss is for that reason. And that's the product I use for the clear wood varnish gloss, which is Magnorail. And as you can see, it's very shiny. Okay, I thought I'd show you the magnets and the slider that you use to run the whole system. Now as you can see, the far top slider has a magnet. Now on the left hand side, the magnet size is 0.5 millimeters in height by 1.5 millimeters in width. Now the slider in the front with the bigger magnets, which I actually brought, are actually 1 millimeter high by 3 millimeters wide. Now the reason I've gone that way is because of that square magnet that you see that goes into the blue chain is 3 millimeters by 3 millimeters. So to get more strength in the magnet, I decided to buy the 3 millimeter by 1 millimeter magnets. And as you can see the difference. And now the top slider, which has the 0.5 millimeter by 1.5 wide. In the front here I've actually got 2 magnets which will make the 1mm high, but instead of using heaps of them magnets I decided to buy those 3mm wide by 1mm. It just gives me a bit more strength that sits onto that block magnet. So when this will go like so on top, but that's the lightweight one. So anyway, I'm going to go to 3mm by 1mm magnets on all of them. And with my cars, once I put that slider underneath the car, my distance, my height distance is about 1.5mm. So that's why I've got to go about the 1mm underneath the car, so the wheels will turn on the car. But anyway, I thought I'd show you that. But that's the difference between the magnets. I thought I'd show you how I actually put the magnet on the slider. Now obviously this is the slider. So what I do is I put a magnet in a spare chain or spare link. Then I will put the super glue on there and put it over the magnet. So because your magnets are north and south, and this will make sure that my magnets are always north, so when I put the slider on top and drop the magnet on, it should sit in the slider. So what I do is I put a dab of glue, super glue, and I grab a magnet and I actually put it over the magnet and drop the magnet on. Then I just lift it up and voila. Oh, as you can see how powerful these little magnets are. And that's the first one. So I'll do the other side. A dab of glue. I grab a magnet, they're tiny magnets, go over. And as you can see how it tries to get to the magnet on the chain. We'll try again. And voila. And lift it up. And that's how I do my magnets. Now also I thought I'd show you how the 3mm cube goes into the chain or the link. Now you have a square hole in that link, but to make sure you got the north going right is I use a pair of pliers. Now I'll turn it around until I know I'm going to fit it in. Sometimes they slip around. And then squash it in, like so. And that's how I do those magnets. Okay, now with the cars, now this red tube that you see is actually just a piece of wire, the insulation from the wire, and that's what the slider will actually fit into. So the slider will go into the tube like so. Then that will go on top of this magnet here, which if I put a piece of polypropylene sheet, and that's how it actually goes. So those block magnets here hold the slider in place, so, and that's what makes it drag the car around. So if I turn that on now, so that's what makes it drag the whole car around the whole system.